Well, Morgellons, yeah.
Okay. Now, are Morgellons the particles or the sores?
It was named, a woman named it after an illness that doctors named it Morgellons in the 1800s. It's also called well, no, something else, but it was an illness that they gave to people who started to go insane. So it kind of, unfortunately, stayed with this, and when people first started to go to their doctors, they said they were having delusions. And they would show them their arms, and they would give them cream. They sent them to dermatologists, and nobody would take it seriously until, of course, the influx of victims, and now they have no choice.
Because the itch strikes them.
Okay, and then, of course, we can't leave out 9/11. And the reason why I'm throwing 9/11 in is because the chairman is Sidney Gillibrand. And he was the CEO of this company called AMEC that completed Wedge 1 of the Pentagon prior to the attack. And I don't know how familiar everybody is with 9/11, but that was the section that got hit. And then afterwards, he was kind enough to build it up again. And his daughter is our senator in New York. Yes, and she has not taken a call about anything.
She won't talk to us.
I was on a conference call with her, and I didn't, they said you had to submit your questions, so I knew if I submitted a question that she wouldn't call on me, and I still couldn't get through. Will not answer any letter, anything that we send her, because her...
She's a sponsor, food Nazi.
She's what, I'm sorry?
Food Nazi.
Oh, well, yeah, well, they have to protect us. They care about us. Okay, so then, of course, in 2001 was 9/11, and then AMEC, Sidney Gillibrand, he built that again. Raytheon provided a satellite system in 2002 for accurate weather forecasting, so they made even more money. And then in 2003, Blackstone, Apollo, and Goldman Sachs acquired NALCO. And for those of you who are familiar with the Gulf, that's what they're spraying, and sources continue to say that they're still spraying Corexit today. And what I just found out recently about NALCO is that they are a major producer of aluminate, which is aluminum, which I did not know that. So, you know. But Goldman Sachs is huge too. They bought NALCO. And then in 2003, former chairman, BAE is British Aerospace Enterprise. Sidney Gillibrand, he was chairman of that company prior to becoming chairman of AMEC. So he was involved in the creation of planes for about 500 years. Well, you know. So BAE then purchased the contract for HARP from Raytheon. So now you have my senator's father in 2007 purchased the contract from HARP. Then he left there and went to AMEC, where he helped rebuild and build the 9/11. And also his company helped make the new pipeline for Iraq. So he's got his hand in every pie also. Right there, to rebuild the water and sewage networks in Iraq. Then in 2005, Raytheon was awarded a $300 million Advanced Weather Interactive Processing System contract from NOAA's National Weather Service, so we can feel safe that Raytheon will be predicting the weather for the next till 2014. And BAE Systems, which was Sidney Gillibrand, his software was selected for 3D mapping projects for airports. And I found that extremely interesting because basically what that is throughout the country and then eventually for the globe, they are mapping out all the airports in the world. And if you think of the aerosol program, it's a worldwide program, at least with the NATO countries. And there's very few countries, I think Iran and China maybe, I don't know. But if you know where every single airport is, you can fly out and fly in and, you know, do a return, whatever. And then in 2007, BP invests undisclosed amount to synthetic genomics. J. Craig Ventnor is the founder and president, and he is the one that it came out on the news that he's mapping the human genome, and he is the one who made synthetic life, which is basically plastic and bacteria, but it's self-replicating, and it actually grows and changes and is able to do all the fun stuff that natural cells are able to do. And then what I did was I put all the people who were CEOs and chairman of these companies, because I always grew up thinking that if you were chairman of a major company, that was it. That was a really tough job, and that was all you could do. No, they're chairman of 2 and 3 companies at the same time. It is, I don't even know how, I can't even do my job and cook dinner. I don't understand how they can do this. Finally, Nalco, BP, and Chevron launched Brightwater Technology. So Nalco, BP, and Chevron, which Chevron was also Rockefeller. They're all friends. And then in 2008, Monsanto involved in creating, like Pauline said, aluminum-resisting crops. In 2009, Senator John Rockefeller co-sponsored the Senate Bill 601, Weather Mitigation, Research and Development Policy Authorization Act, which I don't know if I have a copy of that. I handed out a handout that might be in it, which is allowing them to alter the weather for global warming.
Is that Kay Baker Hutchinson's bill?
Yes,
She introduced
yes.
it?
In 2010, Synthetic Genomics announced the laboratory creation, like I said, of the reproducing organism. In 2010, Tony Hayward cashed in 1/3 of his holdings 1 month prior to the Deepwater Horizon Gulf accident, so maybe he knew something, I don't know. And then BP purchases the world supply of core exit from Nalco. And the CEO, Rodney Chase, was on the Nalco board of directors, and he was a past BP board member, and he's now the CEO of Nalco. And in 2010, Goldman Sachs sold 445, that's a typo, million, I think, shares of BP stock 3 weeks before the Deepwater Horizon. So maybe they knew something also. And this is the history of HARP. It started out with ARCO. Their subsidiary, APTI, went to E-Systems, went to Raytheon, and now is currently owned by BAE, which Senator Gillibrand's father-in-law, it's not her father, it's her father-in-law.
Can you go back there a minute?
Yeah.
Just trying to write that real fast.
When I started researching BP and the Rockefellers, it is amazing what they have been involved in. In the 1900s to the 1940s, they started Cold Spring Harbor. I did not know that, with Morgan Stanley. And they also started, like I said, the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute, and they started a serious study of eugenics. Now, as I'm sure most of you know, eugenics' purpose is to create a better race. And they actually started intermingling families of them and their friends and the really wealthy to produce a better human, but they also started studying it in the lab.
So that's Cold Spring Harbor Lab, you mean?
Major involved in that.
My mother, when she had cancer,